Where's the other members? Okay.
Hi, good morning, members. We're just about to start. We've just finished the sound check, so there we go.
Okay.
Morning.
Good morning,
Morning.
everyone. Good morning. Okay, we can get started. Okay, good morning. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and in-person attendance limitations. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Committee members, panel members participating today are Sophia Reddick, Laura Alderson, Stan Kumorik, and Neil Palmer. And I'm Michael Clark, I'm the panel chair. We also ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we're meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because the Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB, in the event of an appeal, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee rendered here today, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision. The hearing procedure will be as follows. We will call each item in the order listed in the agenda. In making your submissions where an application is uncontested, the applicant or agent may proceed with their presentation if desired. Where the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to address the committee. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, and there'll only one speaker for each address, and including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent proceeds first and will make a presentation of the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised in order to ensure that the application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application have been advised of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will make a presentation, and when all speakers are finished, the applicant is given a further 5 minutes to rebut the and answer any questions raised by the neighbors, but not to introduce more information at that time. I think we have some preliminary matters to take care of. First of all, is any committee members or staff, and staff with us today are Ange and Adam. Anyone have any declarations of interest to declare on the matters before us on the morning agenda? None to declare. Okay, we have, I believe, 2 minutes to approve for July 29th and August 26th hearings. So I'll need a motion to approve those minutes. Mr. Komarek, thank you. That's on both sets. We might as well do them both together.
Yes, for both.
Okay, and a seconder for that? I need someone to second the
Laura.
motion.
Laura's trying
Thank
to
you,
second.
Laura. Thanks, didn't see your hand. Okay, all in favor? The minutes are approved. I guess, should we deal with the deferral requests? Or actually, I think they're all in the afternoon, the ones that we're aware of, so we might as well then start.
We have one for item 15 that you can deal with that's requested
Okay.
by the agent.
Thank you, Barb. So item number 15, let's deal with that one, 84 Mcleod Street.
Defer, please.
I believe the speaker on that application or the applicant is Frank Volpentesta. Mr. Volpentesta, welcome.
Thank you.
So, sir, I have a request from planning to defer this application. They mentioned they need time to review the application. Is that acceptable to you, your client?
Yes,
Okay.
it's fine.
Okay, so panel members, we need a motion to defer this application. I assume when you're ready, or when staff is ready, that'll be put on the next available agenda at that time.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so motion to defer.
I'm happy to make that motion to defer.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. Seconded by Ms. Ruddick. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, the matter is deferred.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll go back to item number 114 Stevenson Road is our first application. It's an application to construct a new detached garage in the rear yard. We have a revised applicant revision page showing that one of the two variances, the coverage of the garage, the lot area has been eliminated, and all we're left with is one variance for the proposed ancillary structures total floor area, which is 101.03 square meters. It's been reduced from the original, and that is the only variance where 60 square meters is permitted. The applicant for this application is, the speaker is Alfred Agipong, the agent for the applicant. Mr. Agipong, welcome.
Yes, sir. Good morning, and how you guys doing?
We're doing well. It's only our first application.
Sir,
Sir, would you like to advise the committee of anything, or just see if they have any questions? I see you revised the application. Was that as a result of a request by city planning?
Yes, correct. That's in regards to the lot coverages that they wanted us to provide more green space for the backyard.
Okay, so you made these changes. Would you like to advise the committee of anything before I see if members have any questions for you?
Well, actually, the intent of the size being what it is just because of the family who I'm actually representing is a big family, and they wanted to have a space to store the vehicles that they have in the winter time, and also be able to store the equipment that will be used to maintain the property. So that's why we are actually requiring for that size of a garage to be constructed. But we demolishing the existing and reconstructing everything all new.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, anyone have any questions for the agent, or is someone ready for a motion?
I have questions,
Yes, sir.
if I may. I have no concern with what's being proposed. I think for the size of the lot, it makes sense. My question pertains to the amount of green space that's being provided. On your
Yes.
site plan, you're indicating dotted area to the east, on the east side of the property. That part of the property, as far as I can tell, is currently being used as a second driveway. Can you comment on that?
Well, it's not being used as a driveway per se, except that they have a bigger setbacks for each side of it. So what I know is that they use only one side to get in. That would be where the existing concrete driveway is that goes to the backyard.
I believe that's what is legal, but um, when I drove by there on Friday, I noticed vehicles parked on the east side of the property. I've noticed there's an asphalt pavement that's taken place in the city boulevard on the east side. And if you go back historically on Google, there are vehicles stored on the east side of that property.
Yes, because the gentleman happens to be a contractor, so he has some of his vehicles from his workers park on that side. That's what I know, he had them there. But when they came from, they were waiting to actually come back from when the lockdown finished. When they come back, they get their vehicle and then they're gone. So the vehicle is never there.
Respectfully, sir, that is not any sod anymore because it's been so well used for vehicle storage that it's basically a dirt driveway.
No,
And-
they're actually fixing that. After the construction of this, they'll be fixing it and putting it back into the green space. That's what they'll be doing.
Okay, so if that's in fact what they're prepared to do, then I'd be prepared to move a motion to approve, but on the condition that the sod be restored to that side of the house.
No problem, sir.
So I would therefore move a motion for approval, but tying it to the site plan that you submitted with the area to be restored to green space.
All right, sir.
Okay, so that's your motion, Mr. Comeric. Thank you. You have a seconder for Mr. Comeric's motion. Mr. Palmer, thank you. Okay. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Agapong.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next application is item number 2, 52 Hyde Avenue. It's an application to maintain the existing 4 dwelling units located on the 2nd floor of the mixed-use building. We have, in addition to the materials submitted with the application, we have a submission from the applicant, photos. We have reports from planning, transportation, ravines, and we have 11 letters of opposition. And planning is recommending refusal of the application. The speaker on this application is Gabe Ferroni, as well as we have a neighbor from 46 Hyde registered to speak as well.
Mr. Chair, the neighbor of 46 Hyde will not be participating in the hearing today.
Okay, so we do have the 11 opposition letters, but we don't have anyone here to speak with respect to those matters, but we do have the letters. Okay, Mr. Ferroni, welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, good morning.
So-
Mr. Ferroni, you've seen the planning report, you've seen the letters of opposition. So we have your submission and we have your photos you've provided. If you'd like to make a presentation, please go ahead.
Yes, good morning, everyone. This property of 52 Hyde had a site-specific bylaw allowing this use. I think I submitted that last week. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it. And this bylaw allowed the use, except I think every 3 years, it had to be revisited and approved by community council. The owner was not sure when the last time was it had gone for renewal. He may have thought 6 or 7 years ago. Unfortunately, the planner that was dealing with it is no longer around, so I couldn't go down that road, and I couldn't get much information from the city. I'm still waiting on whether or not it had been and what the process would be in case I can't go through the Committee of Adjustment route. I've gone through the transportation report and the planning report. I think at this time, the best thing to do is, if possible, of course, is to request a deferral.
Okay,
from
that's
the committee.
to go back to the community planner and to transportation and try to
Yes.
work something.
Exactly. Exactly. Especially knowing that there is there was a site-specific bylaw allowing for this use. with
Okay, the only
with-
thing I'll
with
I'll
the
speak to you about
divisions.
that, Mr. Ferroni, as you know, typically when there's an application to have something built and the applicant asks for a deferral, it's to their detriment. They're carrying the property, they're being delayed. In this case, it's
Yes.
to maintain. It's a maintain situation. So best thing for your client is just get it deferred forever. So I'd like to get a comment from staff if this could perhaps be brought back to a specific date. So it just does, because it is something that the neighbors are concerned with, and to defer it and have it remain that way for several more months is perhaps not something that you're here before the committee. You had to make this application to legalize what's there. So I think if you
Yes.
are to be given a deferral, it should be for a relatively short period of time to see if you can work things out and then have it brought back on for a decision. Does that sound reasonable? So,
Absolutely. Yeah. I want to get this behind me.
we
and
can
move
ask the
forward.
Secretary Treasurer, Ms. Bartosik, what do you suggest in this circumstance?
Difficulty is I don't know what the resolution may be. Will he be amending the application? So maybe we do for a maximum period of a set time rather than a specific date, because we don't even have hearing dates for 2022.
Mhm. Right, but in this situation,
How much time would he
I'm
need,
speaking on
Dave?
behalf of the neighbors who are not here, but we have 11 letters to say that this situation being legalized and an existing situation, it should be brought back on rather quickly so that whatever is dealt with is dealt with.
So do you want it to be
I just
dealt
want
with
to hear
this
what
year?
the members think, or what you think in terms of sort of just making sure that doesn't get left on the docket and go on without being brought back on. Because that would be, I guess, what the applicant would be to their benefit, but not to the benefit of the neighbors who are here objecting or have written in an objection. And as well as community planning and transportation, for that matter.
I do have a question, actually. The site-specific bylaw came into effect in 1999, I believe. How long have the tenants been in the building? How long have the units been there?
I'd say at least since '99, maybe even before that.
Yeah, in any
That's all I
event,
know.
yeah. So we're not going to hear it on the merits. It's just the issue of the
Yeah,
deferral and
yeah,
how
No,
long it gets
I just
deferred
wanted
for.
to clarify that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm actually curious as to whether or not the neighbors who are complaining have any idea that there is a site-specific bylaw that applies to this property.
I don't think they.
Anyway,
Yeah, planning has weighed in with a refusal as well, not just the neighbors, so.
they don't even mention the site-specific bylaw in the notation, though. They don't mention it at all, so.
Okay, so this
And
will
I-
give
and
Mr.
I- and I
Ferroni a
asked
chance to
the,
work it
zone
out
examiner.
with planning and try to alert
Yeah.
them to that if they're not
Yes.
aware of that. And their position may change. So, okay, so having said that, we're looking for a motion to defer.
I'm happy to make that motion to defer,
Okay, thank you, Ms. Alderson.
to give the applicant, some time to confer with planning.
Okay. Seconder for that? Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in favor?
Yeah, I'll second, but can we have a firm hearing date to defer it to?
Yeah, Barb is
Can we
saying she doesn't
consult
have the
staff
dates
to
in
get a-
2020, for 2022 yet. What about
Two, yeah.
do we have room on any of the remaining hearings for 2021? Because again, we're only in September now. There are several more
We can
hearings.
schedule it for December 9th if that works for the applicant.
Not sooner than that. I'm thinking of the, anyway, if that gives them enough
Well, I
time to
just-
work it out.
Make it work.
Because he'll have to submit any kind of revisions or documentation with us more than a month in advance of that. So that only
Okay.
really gives a month and a half to do things.
And things are
Okay.
moving very slow at the city, so hopefully it'll work. There's no
Okay,
promises,
Gabe,
but-
that'll give you enough time to work it out and try to investigate and advise them of the site-specific zoning bylaw that Ms. Alderson pointed out. Okay,
Okay,
so it'll
Sounds
be,
good. Thank
okay,
you.
to that date. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. I assume that's acceptable, Ms. Alderson, an amendment to your motion? Okay, all in favor?
Mhm.
Okay, the matter is unanimously deferred. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ferrone.
Have a good day.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Item number 3, 69 Celestine Drive. It's an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling. It's a pure top-up, and the speaker for this application is Nathan Smith, owner, and we have absolutely nothing whatsoever. We only have one variance. It's a pure top-up. Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Very straightforward application, Mr. Smith. Welcome. Would you like to advise the committee, the panel members of anything, or can I just see if someone has any questions for you or if they're ready to make a motion? Very straightforward application.
Yeah, basically, the addition, the existing ceiling is going to remain intact, so that's why it's going to be a little taller by what, just over half a meter.
Okay, great. So it's just a straight top up. Panel
Yeah.
members, any questions for Mr. Smith, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
I'm happy to weigh in with a motion if no one has any questions. I believe this application is very straightforward and meets the 4 tests, and I'm happy to approve the variances.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. Seconder for that?
I'll second.
Okay, I don't see you.
Stand-
You're not on the screen to put your hand up. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Kamork. All in favor? We have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Okay. Next application is item number 4, 83 Superior Avenue. And this is an application to construct a 2-story rear addition and a rear yard deck. There were 2 variances. And we have Urban Forestry requesting condition. There are reports from planning and transportation, and we have 4 letters of support. Speaker for this application is Mike D'Oliveira, the agent, and no other speakers registered. Mr. Oliveira, welcome.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Mike D'Oliveira. I'm here representing 83 Superior, and I'm with Replacement Design located at 911 Davenport Road.
Okay, so I guess you've seen transportation is okay. You have 4 form letters of support and an arborist report, and also you do have planning requesting refusal of variance number 1, if you'd like to address the committee on that.
Certainly. So upon designing the
Presentation?
addition,
Go ahead.
okay, thank you. So upon designing the addition, it was important to us and the homeowners that we limit the variances as much as possible, and we worked closely with planning to address their concerns. Although we still have a report against us from planning, their concern, as you can see, is quite minor, and it's only in reference to the eave setback. Even transportation reports they have no issues with our parking space variances as shown, as we have plenty of space to park within our own property. We worked closely with the owners to give them a particular look to their addition, and even stepped in from the neighboring property when we could have gone right in line with the 0 side yard setback for the addition itself, or even have continued a shared party wall. But in this case, the owners were looking for a hip roof, so to do that, we had to step in the addition in order to give some space to have that eaves overhang. Although we only have a 0 setback, there's been similar approvals done in the area along Superior, such as for 0.13 setback for the eaves. This is a normal condition that's done throughout the city. If we had just done a party wall extension, we'd end up with a 0 setback anyways for any eave. So because our property has a slight angle from where the party wall ends, this 0 setback is only at the worst case scenario. It gets better the closer to the remaining house as it moves back. So this 0 setback is only at the closest point. We're not projecting over the property line. Like I said, this is an existing condition that's found throughout the city. It's only because we're not doing a party wall with this is really coming up. So I'm open to any questions the panel members might have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Oliveira. So you explained that to community planning. given your explanation that it's not the entire property and it improves, in the event that the panel members would be inclined to grant you that variance, would you agree that it would make sense to have it tied to a plan so that you're only getting the 0 setback where you need it and wouldn't be able to then do more than that? In the event that they see
Yeah,
fit to.
we're open to that. We discussed it with planning. Even the planner himself wasn't quite sure why his managers were opposed to us having this kind of setback, but his hands were tied. If the panel feels it's relevant to tie us to that setback on plans, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Oliver. Let's see if panel members have any questions for you. And if there are no questions, if someone's ready to weigh in with a motion.
Sorry, I'm still struggling with this. I mean, I don't like a 0 setback, and I think that's why planning is opposing it. Generally, we try not to do 0 on any application. Like, is there a possibility to do anything other than like somewhere between 0 and 0.3?
Well, the problem is the angle of the property line in relation to our addition. Our addition is keeping a straight line, where the rear property line ends up with a slight angle just because of the way the house is oriented.
That's what I'm trying to see that now on the site plan. So
Yeah, so when you look at the site plan, you can kind of see we're keeping the house parallel, right? But because usually at the end of any shared wall, the property lines tend to give a slight angle, our addition gets closer the further back you go. So you can kind of see it there in what they just brought up. That closest point is that 0 setback, and that's only for the eaves. It's not.
oh, I get it. I get it. Okay, because it's not a straight line.
Yeah, exactly.
So if that condition is only happening at the rearmost section?
Correct. Like we tried to keep it very minimal. We only have like a 6-inch overhang plus, the 4.5, 5 inches for the.
I get it. I get it. Okay. So it's not for the full section of the addition then?
No, and we don't have to go on the neighbor's property at all to access this. It's not going beyond the property line. It's a hip roof, so we can easily deal with any repairs and cleaning of the eaves well within our property.
Okay. I'm okay with that then.
Thank you.
I don't think I need to tie it to drawings. I'm willing to accept the application as minor and meeting the 4 tests, and therefore move approval.
Thank you, Mr. Kamarick. Seconded for that motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor?
There's planning condition 2, I believe.
Oh, yeah, there's very good. There's, urban forestry, friendly amendment.
Yeah, urban forestry.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ruddick, for noticing that. Okay, so I'll take that
Yes,
as you seconding it with the friendly amendment, and all in favor? Okay, the motion is unanimously approved, as is the application.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Thank you. We'll see you again. Okay, our next application is item number 5, 16 Dalbeattie Avenue. This is an application to construct a 2-story south side addition that will include an attached garage, a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling, a new front porch, and a new rear yard deck. There are 5 variances. We have on this application a cover letter and comments from transportation, and we have support, 2 parties signing 11 and 18, a little petition of support, and we have opposition from number 3, Dalbeattie. Registered to speak on this application is the agent, Ross Delfina, as well as the neighbors at 14 Dalbeattie and 3 Farnsworth. I see we have 3 names listed for the speaker for 14, but obviously we will only allow 1 speaker from that address. So you can determine who is going to be speaking, but I guess first we'll hear from Ross Delfina.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee members.
Yeah, we have your cover letter, sir. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, basically, I'm here to answer any questions. The variances are fairly clear relative to what we're doing. We're trying to keep as much as possible to existing conditions. For example, the wood deck at the rear, quite frankly, is something we want to maintain for the outdoor living space and the integration of the pool, and therefore keeping the main floor intact as it is and only extending the cover of the upper floor over the deck. Insofar as the garage goes, the garage is basically designed to maintain the service entry at the side where the stairs are and keep us from impacting the existing single-story building as much as possible. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. And you're aware of the conditions from transportation? You're okay with those as the conditions they're requesting?
Yes.
Okay. Committee members, any questions for the applicant agent, or can we hear from the neighbors and then he'll have a chance to respond? But are there any questions at this point? Ms. Alderson?
No, that's okay. I'll wait until the neighbors have had a chance to speak.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so in that case, we'll hear from the neighbor at 14 Dalbeattie. I don't know which of the three individuals is going to speak.
I will be speaking on behalf of everybody.
Yeah,
So the first issue is that
can you try speaking a
Yes?
little clearer, Cloud? We're having trouble with all the speakers. I'm finding it's very faint. Maybe we have to turn up the volume or something. But sorry, sir. Can you just state your name? Are you Frank, Lorna, or Giovanni?
Giovanni,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, so the first concern we have is just about the light exposure to the north side and west side of our home.
Sorry, you just have to state your name and address for the record before you speak.
Sure, it's Giovanni Salomon, address 14 Dalbeattie Avenue.
Okay, go ahead, sir. Let us know
Okay,
what your
so with
concerns are.
concern,
Yeah.
okay, concern out of two concerns. The first concern is the light exposure to the north side and west side of our home, and how this would affect that. And secondly, we're concerned about any variance that would reflect negative on our residents, like the extension, if an extension of the driveway potentially going towards our lawn or anything like that. So light exposure would be the first concern.
Can I comment on that?
Well, after he's made his submissions and after we've heard from the other neighbor, not now.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Salomon, you'd like to
And
continue?
Can you just mute the other speaker?
I'm sorry, what's that?
No, it's okay. She was just speaking to the moderator. So
Okay.
please continue, sir. Anything else you'd like addressed or any other concerns?
No, just those two for now.
Okay. Okay, any questions for this neighbor before we hear from the other neighbor? Okay, so let's go to the neighbor at 3 Farnsworth, Ms. Matt Junis.
Hi, how are you?
It looks like you're located sort of behind the property.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, but a couple of houses
So
over.
I'm Jennifer Matjunas. Yes, a couple of houses over, and yeah, so behind the house we're speaking about.
Yeah, you look like you're behind the boat number 4.
I believe so. Yes.
Dalbeattie, yes, you're but 4 houses
Yes.
over. Okay, what are your concerns
Yes.
now?
I don't have any concerns. Just here to support the decision to
Oh.
move forward with the plan.
Okay, that's very nice. Very nice of you to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, so I assume, does anyone have any questions for this neighbor, or we'll go back to the applicant to respond to the concerns from the neighbor at 14? Okay. Mr. DeFina?
Thank you.
Floor is yours.
So with regard, I'm sorry?
You go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So with regards to the concern of light, we took that into account with our design. Our setbacks are within the requirements. And where the garage is concerned, we maintained a flat roof projecting forward from the upper floor so as not to create any problematic conditions with light. So we did consider that, we did apply it into the design, and we were very cognizant of that concern coming up.
Okay, that's all you want to say?
Well, with the side yard setback being within the zoning requirement, we're constructing a two-story building as allowed under the zoning bylaw. The citywide bylaw allows for a 10-meter height. The former North York bylaw requires an 8.8-meter height from the center line through the center line of the property to the center line of the road of 8.8 meters. We are exceeding that height somewhat. We carry a slope roof to that effect, but we're well below the 10-meter that would otherwise be allowed under the current citywide bylaw. So we did take into account as much as possible, which is why we have a bit of a flat roof portion and a setback to the second floor to allow light to penetrate over and beyond that space so as not to infringe.
Are you done, Mr. Delfino? Are you waiting for the plans to get
Yes.
up? Or?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, does anyone have any questions, either for, well, the applicant or the neighbor in support, or the neighbor in opposition? Or is someone ready to make a motion?
Just very quickly, there's nothing from urban forestry on this file, but there was a concern put forward by the neighbor regarding the tree canopy. And I see that there's a small tree, looks like a city tree, at the front of the property, and I'm assuming that you're planning on keeping it, or if it is damaged in any way, replacing it.
That's correct. We are planning on keeping it, and in
Okay.
worst case scenario, replacing it. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Question for the applicant. Sir, if we give approval, transportation is recommended a few conditions, one of which is confirmation of parking dimensions within the garage. Otherwise, you'll have to come back to Committee of Adjustment again. So are you?
So the parking dimensions, as noted on Chapter 200, the maximum dimensions that are allowed are 3.2 by 6 meters. We're actually well below the allowable under Chapter 200. We're at 2.89 by 5.74, which are the interior dimensions of the garage. So we're well below the minimum requirement, or the maximum allowable, I should say.
Okay, so I can finish my question. You're comfortable then if we impose these conditions upon approval?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Palmer, you ready to make a motion? There's no other questions?
Yes, I can move a motion. I'll move for approval to variances requested or minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act. And that's conditional upon the transportation conditions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer. Seconder for that motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Unanimously approved. Okay, thank you, Mr. Delfino.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay, our next application is item number 6.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
sorry, can I interrupt for 1 second? I just want to go back to item 4. I just want to clarify what was approved.
Item 4.
If I could indulge. The condition that was imposed was forestry condition 2. Is that the only condition?
I believe so. Is that recording secretary? Is that what the motion was?
Yes, that was the only condition.
Okay.
Okay, because I thought I heard something about a planning condition, which we're not imposing, so I just wanted to clarify. Okay,
think-
thank you.
Sophia Reddick had said planning, but the chair corrected it as being a forestry condition too.
Yeah, I meant forestry too, and I was.
Okay, sorry, it kind of resonated in my mind later, and then I wasn't sure what okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next application is item number 6, 71 Yorkview Drive. We have a yellow revision page with changes made. It looks like variances. There are 6 variances. Variances 1, 2, 3, and 4 have all been reduced. It looks like it was reduced in accordance with the planning memo, which wanted it the length reduced to 19.09, which has been done. And I just have a question for Mr. Barrett, because it looks like now we also have urban forestry requesting condition 2, but it looks like in the additional materials we received late on Friday, there was also a revised yellow plan. I just want to confirm that those are the same ones and they weren't further reduced. So perhaps we can hear from Mr. Barrett in that in his presentation. And we have registered to speak, only one speaker, Mr. Barrett.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Graham Barrett, 1575 Dundas West, agent for the owner of 71 Yorkview Drive. And you are correct, we have made some rather last minute minor changes to address the concern raised in the staff report. So if this committee is willing to hear it, I have a presentation I'd very much like to deliver this morning. Further changes have only resulted in reduction or elimination of the proposed variance.
Okay, so perhaps you can walk us through. So is that the correct notice on the board? I think that's the one in our package, but do we need to look at the one in the additional materials?
Yes, further reductions have been made. I've submitted revised plans and an updated waiver with marked up public hearing notice. They're dated September 10th. They are on the AIC. Apologies for the last minute submission, but that staff report came in on the last day as well. So.
Right, it looks like we have the correct one up there where it's 0.55, the FSI reduced from 0.56 on the previous iteration, and originally was 0.58.
Yes, that is the correct.
Okay, so we have the right one. I see you've now eliminated variance 3 as well. So perhaps you can walk the committee members through those changes, those further changes.
Sure. So after discussions with planning staff back in August, revisions were made to address concerns they'd raised. That would be the previous version. We had hoped to address their concerns at that time, but it appears that we were unsuccessful. So we made further revisions. As you can see, the plans and updated waiver are up.
Yep.
Building length has come down. Floor space index has naturally been reduced slightly. The depth variance has been eliminated and the second story platform has been removed altogether. So apologies again, but this is the best we could do to deal with it at the last minute. And staff wanted to see a reduction in building length, and we have now done that. I'd also like to mention the owner has spoken with some of his neighbors, and I've reached out to many others. I sent a letter to 11 homes on Yorkview and 3 on Edgecroft backing onto the property. I provided a brief explanation, offered to chat if there are any questions or concerns, and we've got 3 letters of support. I also heard back from the other adjacent neighbor at 73 yesterday, and they had a few questions, but it was mostly around planting and possibly frosting the west-facing second floor bedroom window. And I've put them in touch with the owner so they can discuss these matters in a neighborly fashion and not really bother the committee with them. I haven't heard back from anybody else, and there are no letters of opposition. I'm aware of the urban forestry condition. An arborist report has been prepared. 1 private tree is scheduled for removal. 2 city trees in the front can and will be maintained. Beyond that, the variances being proposed are minor, and this will be a tasteful and suitable update to the site. And we've been pleased to be able to work with planning staff and come to a solution that hopefully addresses their concerns. I'd be happy to answer any questions. There's a bunch of material in my presentation materials showing how this fits in with past approvals in the immediate area. A couple of spreadsheets in there and a bunch of photos of new homes on this street. This is very much a neighborhood in transition with older homes being demolished and newer, larger homes being constructed. And what we're proposing here is suitable in that regard.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barrett. Just want to clarify, in the open remarks, I said the community planning wanted you to reduce the length to 19.09. In fact, you had reduced it from 20.2 to 19.09, and they were still unsatisfied not satisfied with that. So now you have eliminated that variance altogether. So just wanted to clarify what I said.
Okay.
I just my introduction. I implied that they wanted reduced to 19.09, so that was not correct. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Barrett, or is someone ready for a motion? And remember, there is urban forestry condition number 2.
Palmer, I'm comfortable to move a motion for approval. The revised variances appear to be minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act. And if we tie that to the site plans, the revised site plans dated September 10th, 2021. And that would be conditional on the urban forestry condition number 2. I believe that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. The seconder for Mr. Palmer's motion. Mr. Komorik. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Barrett. We'll see you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next application is item number 7, 3176 Weston Road. It's to construct a front covered deck. We have revision page indicating the purpose was changed from a rear deck to a front covered deck. Variance 1 was eliminated, and variance 2 has been reduced. The soft landscaping, front yard landscaping. And on this application, we have the revised plans. I have a cover letter, and we have a planning report for information. Speaker on this application is Matula Amiri.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
This is Amiri. I'm representing 30.
Can you try speaking a little louder or closer? You sound very muffled, sir.
Yes. Is it okay now?
A little better.
So
you've made changes to this application. We have the revised waiver sheet in front of us.
Yes.
Is there anything you'd like to advise the committee before we see if there's any questions? Looks like you've increased the soft landscaping, the front yard landscaping.
Yes, that's correct.
And you eliminated the first variance about the canopy projection.
Yes.
Okay.
Question from Mr. Palmer. Yeah, okay, so if we can refer to the revised site plan, and the area of the soft landscaping is on the plan 191.5 square feet, which to me converts to 17.8 square meters, which is what is on the notice, but the notice says 20%. In my calculations, the 17.8 is 45%. 20% would be 7.8 square meters. So to me, the correct variance should be 17.8, 45%. So I need clarification maybe from staff or from the applicant, maybe both.
Okay. The table you're referring, it shows the...
Sir, can you try speaking a little louder, please?
Yes,
like a little...
if you are referring to the table which is shown on the drawing, that table shows the landscaping in the whole yard or in the whole property. But what the bylaw refers is only the front yard. So according to the bylaw, 75% of the front yard needs to be should be soft landscape. But we talked with the committee, with the staff members, and then they agreed with us to the 20%, and there's some reasons that they accepted this.
Okay, I agree that we're referring to the soft landscaping in the front yard, and I'm a numbers guy. So I look at the front yard landscaping required by the bylaw is 75% or 29.3 square meters.
Yes.
So maybe my math is wrong, but to me, if you're going to be providing 191.5 square feet of soft landscaping in the front yard, that equates to 17.8 square meters, which is 45% soft landscaping, not the 75%.
Yeah, perhaps staff can assist on this because, yeah, I see it doesn't look logical. He increased it from 9 to 20. How did he go from 29 to 17? Can staff assist
The
on this
math
matter?
doesn't
Is this correct?
I think the driveway also, but if we don't include the driveway, maybe your math should be right. But the staff also, we included the driveway, the whole front yard of the property.
But what the member is trying to explain to you, if you use the figures based on 75% equaling 29.3 square meters, that would mean that 100% would be 39.06 roughly. So if you do 17.8 divided by 39.06, it does not equal 20%. It's closer to the 44 that's suggested by the member. So it appears that there's an error in your math.
So in fact, it's actually the member is saying that there's actually the situation is better than it looks because he's actually giving us close to 40% instead of 20. So his variance is less than it shows.
But we still want you to make that calculation clarification because this is done by a waiver. You're taking responsibility for that figure. So can you please check your numbers right now and confirm to the members what it should be?
Okay. Can you give me some time so that I can come back?
You want us to hold this application and we can come back to it?
Yes. Please.
Okay, so let's just hold this and we'll do a few more. We'll come back to you just for that clarification so we can finish that one. Okay, so we'll
Okay,
put you back
thank you very much.
on mute and you can we'll come back to you. Okay, so let's move
Okay.
on. In that case, we're going to hold item 8, item 7. So item number 8 is the next application, 401 Silverthorne Avenue. It's an application to construct a new rear laneway suite with an attached garage. There is one variance. The maximum building width of an ancillary building containing a laneway suite is 8 meters. In this case, it's a width of 8.99. That is the only variance we have. We have a covering letter, servicing details, arborist report, and transportation advised that they're okay with this application. And the speaker is Gary Out, the owner, and as well as you have neighbors registered to speak from 383 Silverthorne and 403 Silverthorne right next door. So let's hear from Mr. Out.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Gary Out. I'm the owner of 401 Silverthorne Avenue. I've been the owner since 2004. So as the proposal suggests, I'm trying to do a laneway suite and garage in the backyard. The intent is to do an affordable 3-bedroom rental for a couple different families have approached me in the past to do it. So I'm looking to do an affordable 3-bedroom apartment upstairs. The property line in the laneway is 9.29 meters wide, and I'm proposing at grade to do 8.69 and the second floor of 8.99 in order to get a suitable 3-bedroom unit up there. I worked with the planners in August to do some revisions to the initial drawings to clarify the angular plane and to satisfy that. So really it's a minor variance just on the width. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's the only variance.
Sorry, I have, sorry, I was just going to say I have support letters from the neighbor on the rear of the laneway, so right across from the laneway house, and then a support letter from the neighbor on the south side of the property.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Outs before we hear from the neighbors? And I just like to point out for the neighbors, is that what we're looking here is not, laneway suites are now permitted as a right. This, we want to hear concerns about not the laneway suite, but on the extra 0.99 meter of width. That's what's before us. Not whether there should be a laneway suite, but whether there should be this extra, almost just under a meter of width. So let's hear from the first neighbor. We did have a letter in our additional materials from 390 concerned mainly with construction and sewer lines, and they're not even next door, but we do have the two other neighbors. So let's hear from the neighbor, Kevin Lynn at 383 Silverthorne.
Hi, good morning, committee members. Because I'm new to the neighborhood, I just bought the house a couple months ago, so I'm totally new to this neighborhood and also the laneway street. So I don't have any opposition, but I just have two questions. One is that it's like building a new house on the same property. So I'm assuming the property tax for 401 will be increasing, I don't know, considerably. But will that also impact the neighbor's property tax? That's my first question. And my second question is that what is considered as minor? Is that anything less than 1 meter is considered minor? Because I saw the 0.99 variance. So that's my only two questions for today.
Okay, thank you, sir. I can just advise there is no, it's 1 meter. It's up to the committee to decide what's minor or not, whether it's half a meter, 1 meter, or 4 meters. There's no mathematical, or numeric issue with that. It's just a question of what's minor. In this case, there is only the one variance. Okay, and well, perhaps your first question we can hear. In terms of property tax is not before the committee, and we really don't know how that, obviously it's done on assessment. If the property is reassessed and it's worth more because it now has a laneway suite, then that assessment will go up, but we can't comment on whether on mill rates and things of that nature. So it's really not a question that's before the committee. And Mr. Out will have a chance once we've heard from the other neighbor to give his own response should he wish to do so. So now let's go to the next door neighbor, Erlinda Gonche at 403 Silverthorne, right next door.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Erlinda Gonche, and I am the owner of the 403 Silverthorne Avenue and neighbor of 401 Silverthorne. So we have two.
Can you try to speak a little louder, ma'am? Or closer to the microphone, or you're trailing off? We want to be able to hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So we have two concerns regarding the building of this lane house, and our concern is the maximization of the property width for the laneway house. It would be result in zero setback, resulting in any overhang like eaves being on our property. So we are requesting at least 1 foot of space between our property line and the proposed building. And the second one is that they're going to build new trees, and we are suggesting to choose trees that will not grow taller than 3 meters because the proposed building will cast a lot of shade onto our backyard.
Yeah, ma'am, there is no height variance. I don't see. It's only the width, as you mentioned. So you'd like to see a little extra distance between your property and this property. So you said you'd like it to be a foot, not a meter, but a foot narrower. Is that what you would like to see happen? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll hear from the neighbor in response. Would you like to add anything else?
No, that's it, sir.
Okay, thank you. Does any of the members have any questions for this neighbor, the neighbor next door? Okay. In that case, we can hear back from Mr. Out to respond to the concerns raised by the neighbor.
in terms of the tree, I don't have any comments on that. We'll agree to trees, I suppose. I'm not sure how that works, I guess, with trees, but that's fine. In terms of the width, again, we believe it's suitable for the neighborhood. It is a minor variance. If it's close proximity to the property line, of course, we'll deal with Toronto Building and our engineers in terms of fire rated materials and soil stability and all these things.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Out. Any questions for the applicant or for the neighbors, or is someone ready for a motion?
A question to clarify the setback on the to the north. So there's no variance for setback, it's just for the width of the building. So what is your setback from your north property line?
The property sort of closes in a little bit as you go closer to the house. So it's 0.07 meters at the laneway and 0.03 or 0.04 as we get closer to the main house.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that there's no setback variance there, but okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions, or is someone ready for a motion?
I'll chime in. I think, as I say, I'm surprised that there's no other variance, but given what is before us, I find the application to be minor and therefore meeting the 4 tests and meeting the overall need in Toronto to get more housing. So in that regard, I would like to move approval. These are no conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Komorek. Ms. Alderson, seconding that? Okay, all in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Out, and
Thank you,
neighbors.
committee members.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
go back to item number 7, back to Mr. Amiri, if he's been able to figure that out. Is Mr. Amiri back? Or does he still need more time? Okay. Is he there?
Mr. Amiri, you're unmuted. If you can hear us.
Okay, let's do another one then. Item number 9, 46 Bywood Drive. To construct a 2-story rear addition, there is only one variance, FSI from 0.45 permitted to 0.51. And we have nothing whatsoever on this application, just the plans submitted. And the speaker on this application, we do have a neighbor. Michelle Mobby is the agent. And then we have a neighbor from 49 Great Oak Drive. So let's hear from the agent, Ms. Mobby.
Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to hear our request. I'm Michelle Mobby from Jordan Renovations, and I'm the agent for 46 Bywood. We are requesting the minor variance to increase the home's floor index from 45 to 51%. The homeowner is the original owner of the property, and they built this home about 23 years ago, bought the property in 1997. At the time, they were a young family. They were pregnant with their first child, moving from a 2-bedroom apartment, and built what they thought was their forever home. They don't want to move from the space, and their intended family of 4 grew to a family of 5, and now has turned into a multi-generational family of 7. So we're trying to renovate the home to accommodate the larger family and just modernize it a bit. As you can see, we're squaring off the back to get rid of that awkward angle that's kind of there to give them a kitchen, and we've improved the look of the rear elevation in the design.
Okay, Thank you. So I did say there was nothing, but we do have urban forestry conditions 1 and 2. I assume that's acceptable. Let's
Yes.
see if anyone has any questions for you on this single variance, and then we'll hear from the neighbor and see what concerns that neighbor has. It looks like they're located behind the property, one property over. Okay, so let's hear from Jessica Ferrari at 49 Great Oak Drive.
Hi there. I have no concerns. I just wanted to listen in,
Oh, okay. Thank
just
you.
to get a better understanding, but I have no concerns.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, committee members, any questions for the agent, or is someone ready for a motion?
If no one has any questions, I'll make a motion to approve the variances subject to urban forestry conditions number 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Alderson, seconded by Ms. Ruddick. Thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Ms. Mobby.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Okay, item number 10, 206 Renforth Drive. It's an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling. It's a top-up. There are 2 variances, 0.03 of floor space index and soffit height of 0.5 meter. We have an arborist report, and we do have opposition from the next-door neighbor at letter from 206. Sorry, we have the neighbor, sorry, 204. 206 is the address. We have the neighbor at 204. They don't support they feel it's too massive and the shadowing will take away their natural daylight. And as well, we have a speaker, that speaker from 206 is here to speak,
you,
as
Miss-
well as the neighbor at 231 Renforth.
Through you, Mr. Chair, only the agent Bob will be speaking on behalf of the application. The owner has let us know that he'll be speaking on behalf of the application,
okay,
and the
so we have this-
neighbor
Right.
at 231 will not be participating today.
Okay, so we don't have any speakers other than the agent. And we do have the letter from the next door neighbor. Okay. Okay, welcome, Mr. Kushner. Kushner.
Good morning. Thank you.
Kushner.
Can't
hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that good?
Could we perhaps turn up the volume in the room? Because I'm having trouble with almost every applicant. It sounds like they're calling from broom closets. Sir, can you try that again and try to project?
Okay, how is this?
Very faint.
Is that better?
Anyway, it's good enough, I guess. We'll strain to
Okay.
listen.
I'll try to speak up.
Yep. Better.
Thank you. I just wanted to reassure everyone that it was never the intention to try and exceed the parameters of the bylaws. When the project was started, the idea was to comply with everything. And after going through the zoning map and collecting data, it turned out that after the application was made, I was informed by staff that there's certain information that's not available through the website that can only be accessed by going to staff. And that was, unfortunately, the old City of Etobicoke bylaws. That did not appear on the zoning
Okay,
map.
sir, you don't have to
We just didn't
apologize
think-
for having a variance. The issue is your variances appear to be very minor.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it is a
I mean-
straight top up, and it's a top up, right? So if you
Yes.
you do
Yes,
have
it
a
is.
small FSI of like less than 20 meters or less than 15 meters and a soffit height. So there is no one here in opposition. We do have a letter, we just didn't mention anything specific. So why don't we just see if committee members, we do have also in the additional materials we got last minute, we do have 4 letters of support in that package. We did
Yes,
receive
thank
those. So let's just see if committee members have any questions for you if someone's ready to bring a motion.
Just a quick question. I'm looking at the site plan. So there's no addition, like the building isn't being moved back. It's just going up.
Yes, that's correct. The only part of the addition that's slightly swelling is because we're adding insulation to the outside of the existing mason.
Understood. On that clarification, I find the application to be minor and meeting the 4 tests, and I'd like to move approval.
Thank you, Mr. Kamark. Seconder for that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? Okay, the application is unanimously approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have our
Sorry, I
friend
don't
back
think
from the other?
Sophia's there.
We've lost Sophie.
Yeah, so she's going to be marked absent for that vote. It's still unanimous, but I don't think she voted on that one.
Okay. So do we go back? Is Mr. Miri ready from, to just confirm that from the item number 7?
No.
Okay, anyway, let's do one more and then we'll take a short break. If that's okay with everyone.
Well,
Okay, so item number 11, 102 22nd Street. It's an application to construct a south side rear addition, a second and third story addition to the existing dwelling, a new attached garage and rear deck, and the existing detached garage is to be demolished. We have a revised yellow notice sheet showing revisions to the variances. There were 12 variances. Looks like 2 of them have been eliminated. Another 1, 2, 3, 4 have been reduced. We have a covering letter, supporting materials from the applicant. We have reports from planning, transportation. We have a support letter and 3 letters of opposition. And the speaker, we have a number of speakers registered to speak on this. We have Graham Barrett, the agent, and then we have various neighbors from 22nd Street, number 40, 104, 47, and 100. So we have 2 that are close, 2 that are further away. When we're present here in person, sometimes we appoint spokespeople, but in the virtual world, I guess everyone has a chance to weigh in with their comments. And we don't appoint, the neighbors don't get together and appoint spokespeople.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the neighbor at 100 22nd Street will not be speaking today.
Sorry, which one? Neighbor at
100.
100, okay. Yeah. And Mr. Quinn? Okay, he was right next door. So we do have the neighbor on the other side, and we have several other neighbors as well. We do have the planning report suggesting, and I'll let the applicant walk through what has been done in relation to that planning report, whether it complies now or it doesn't, and he can walk through. So, Mr. Barrett, how about I think this is an appropriate a situation to get a presentation from you. And perhaps we can get your presentation materials up on the board while you do so.
Okay, great.
Just
So
double
once
that.
again, good morning, committee members, Mr. Chair. Graham Barrett, 1575 Dundas Street West, agent for the owners of 102 22nd. This is an application to construct an addition to the existing 1-story dwelling, which will provide adequate living space for the owners and their young family, along with a basement secondary suite. This will be built primarily on existing footprint, and more than 50% of existing ground floor walls will be retained. Now, as I mentioned in my cover letter, which you're looking at right now, planning staff were consulted and wanted to see some revisions made to the front of the dwelling. And myself and the designer worked closely with them to address their concerns, and a revision and revised list of variances was submitted. I have read the staff report, and all of the concerns raised have been addressed by this revision. Plans and updated zoning information are posted on the AIC, but I see you have those in your packages, I'm sure. Now, improvements were made to the front yard setback, the main wall height, the floor space index, the driveway width, and the front yard soft landscaping. I was pleased to have a very responsive city planner to deal with, and we managed to work at a solution well in advance of today's meeting. These changes are outlined in the marked up public hearing notice on page 2 and 3 of my supporting materials. The variance list appears to be long, but several of these are the result of this being an addition built on existing footprint and maintaining ground floor walls as a cost-saving measure for this young family. I believe the proposal before you today is quite reasonable by the numbers, and it will fit in well with the changing character of this street and the neighborhood as a whole. I've included a couple of spreadsheets of past approvals for floor space index and main wall heights. within 500 meters of the subject property. You skip ahead through the presentation materials, you can see those. And there are quite a few comparable approvals and a few greater approvals on this same block, which are highlighted in blue. I've also included several photos of other newer homes on this immediate stretch of 22nd Street. This is clearly a neighborhood in transition, and older homes are being replaced regularly by newer ones, and that is the situation we find ourselves in. The owners have spoken with several of their neighbors, and we've submitted 4 letters of support, including both adjacent, that's number 100 and 104, and 2 across the street, 111A and 103. I also dropped off letters to 10 other nearby homes on this stretch of 22nd Street, offering a brief explanation of the proposal and providing contact info if anybody had any questions or concerns. And I've heard back from nobody except for the nice lady at 111A who provided a letter of support. I am aware of the 2 letters of opposition. It's actually, it was only 2. The third was just a clarification of address for someone who had written in. And I'm aware that those were sent in, but they were both from houses outside of my radius. One of them was from 47 22nd Street, which is more than 200 meters away. And the other was 116 22nd, which was just one house beyond where I went. I reached out to both of those via email on September 9th, and I heard back from the neighbor at 116 22nd, but not the other. We had some differences in opinion in terms of aesthetics, essentially, and had a nice chat. And I'd be happy to address some of the concerns raised in those letters, but I'll wait for the neighbors to have an opportunity to speak. I am aware of the urban forestry conditions, and all bylaw protected trees, including city tree front, will remain and be protected. An arborist report has been prepared. Essentially, this is a reasonable and suitable proposal, which will create a little more living space for this family and a secondary suite, as I mentioned. The variances are minor in nature in the context of this changing neighborhood. I believe this passes the 4 tests, and with the help of planning staff, we were able to make adjustments to ensure that that is the case. I'd be happy to go through each of the variances one by one or answer any questions you may have. But other than that, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. I did not point to, there is also urban forestry conditions 1 and 2 on this application that I didn't state at the outset. So the first speaker registered to speak is Robert Gullins of 40 22nd Street.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. So you're quite a distance away from 102, correct? Let us know what your concerns are.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I am quite a distance away, but primarily we and not to get away from the topic, but we have an upcoming hearing about a similar development across the street from us. I won't get into the details of that. I'm just concerned that any decision on this property will affect the decision on the property across the street from us.
Okay.
Now, I've lived in the neighborhood since 1977. Seen a lot of changes. There have been considerable changes to the types of housing, etc., on the north side of Birmingham, where the house is located. And there are some very nice structures developed. However, they don't really mix in with the existing housing. And I guess it shouldn't be my concern, but I always hear stories about affordable housing. Meanwhile, it seems all the affordable housing properties are being bought up and converted to overpriced houses or expensive houses. And I'm not sure, there are no guarantees on what's going to happen to this house in the future. I have spoken with the adjacent neighbors. Originally, they were humming and hawing and didn't really like the size and built form of the house. And I left them with a letter and that I'd hope that if they agreed, that they might circulate. But admittedly, they are on side with the builders, and the comment was that families need a place to live. Now, another fellow just a few doors down, a couple of years back, there was an application in, and I went to him and I explained to him what was going to take place and how he was going to come out of his house against this wall. Again, he hummed and hawed and didn't really know what to say, and I showed him like the drawings, etc. And bottom line was, eventually he went along with it. Well, after the house was built, he now regrets it, and he is talking about moving out of the neighborhood. So again, there's nothing any of us can do about that. I just think that it's important to take other factors into consideration. I don't, in conversation with the adjacent neighbors, and again, I'm not insulting them, but I'm not sure they know exactly and fully what they're dealing with, because the structure proposed will be encroaching on their shadow effect. They come out of their home and they're going to be against the wall. There isn't much space there. Parking is always a concern, and I don't believe that the plans for this house are going to do it. There is a mutual driveway, I believe, involved in one case. So rambling a bit, but the bottom line is I do, but 0.85 is not a minor adjustment. That is a major adjustment to the amount of space to be taken up. All of the items that they're asking for variance are not, in my opinion, minor in nature. The overhang at the back, and again, I'm not aware of any updates that may have occurred in the last couple of days, but if you look at what they're doing with the properties, they simply are not minor in nature.
Okay, sir, can you try to wrap up, please? Because you're at 5 minutes.
Okay.
Coming up to
the floor space is a problem. The item number six, the maximum permitted area in the platform above the 2-story is way out of line. It encroaches on the front yard. Number 8, the front elevation wall and roof. Again, does not look like any other item or house on the street. There have been some nicely built ones. This isn't one of them. But
okay, sir,
okay,
can you
so
please
I'll
wrap up, please? You're just saying the same thing over and over. I think you've made your point, and you're at 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to ask you to stop. You want to sum up?
Okay.
Can you sum up your remarks then, if you'd like? I'll give you another few seconds.
I will sum up.
Okay.
Okay, the summary is this is not a minor variance and should not be permitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gullins. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Gullins before we move to the next speaker? Okay, so let's hear from Bazak Coxall, 104. So this is the gentleman who's right next door. I assume it's a gentleman, perhaps.
Hi, it's Başak Köksal.
Okay, sorry.
My husband, no problem.
Welcome.
My husband has signed the letter of support already.
Okay, can you state your name,
And,
please? Are you state your name for the
Başak.
record?
Başak Köksal
Okay, thank you.
at 104 22nd.
So you're located right next door. So let's hear what your concerns are.
Correct. Well, I'm here just to understand what's happening better. I'm sorry, it's the first time I'm living through this. And I just wanted to make sure, I know I'm losing like sunlight and stuff like that. I just want to make sure the distance between the two buildings is gonna stay the same. And if the backyard, like they're not extending any further than how it's extended at this time. I guess they're just gonna put the second and third floor there. I don't have major concerns. I want my neighbors to get what they want. Yes, I would prefer a different roof style, agreeing with my other neighbors. But having said that, I'm seeing my neighbor at 102 has the right expectation. If the committees have allowed other roof styles before, then why shouldn't they get it? I'm on board with them at this point. And just for the sunlight, when they're doing the landscaping, if they could be mindful, like the other neighbor said for another property, keeping the trees that they're going to put shorter, at least I can get some sunlight there. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Coxall, or we'll go to the next speaker? Okay, the next speaker is Sue Thomas at 47 22nd Street.
Yes, my name is Sue Thomas. I'm a resident of 47 22nd Street. Although my home is located south of Birmingham, I was made aware of this proposed development and was aghast at the sheer number of variances being requested. I can't believe that this assault on the zoning bylaws could be considered minor. Zoning bylaws are meant to implement the community vision and policies for future growth and development expressed in the city's official plan, putting the official plan into terms, permissions, and numbers that can be measured. In particular, setting lot sizes and dimensions, parking requirements, building heights, and densities. Therefore, if a proposal does not comply with a zoning bylaw, it is also contrary to the objectives and policies of the official plan. The true reason for variances is to help the homeowner overcome small challenges and to offer some relief when the zoning bylaw is unnecessarily restrictive. This application does not honor the spirit of what variances are about. Zoning bylaw numerics were not meant to be the starting point for requesting variances which will result in more massive, wider, taller buildings which overshadow neighbors, impinge on their privacy, and present an overwhelming, jarring presence to the neighborhood which does not respect or reinforce the physical character of the existing neighborhood. I submit that this application is neither minor, thus failing the first test of a minor variance, nor does it respect the intent of the zoning bylaws, thus failing the third test of a minor variance. When deciding the compatibility of a proposed development, less emphasis should be placed on precedents. Each case should be determined on their own merits. In this case, the variances requested will result in an overly massive, overly tall building that certainly does not satisfy the official plan vision for gradual, contextually sensitive change that respects and reinforces the physical characteristics of the neighborhood. Therefore, because zoning bylaws and the official plan are inextricably linked, this proposal represents a failure of the third statutory test. According to Neighborhoods 4.1.5 of the official plan, the physical characteristics and built form of the immediate context take precedence over the broader context. This portion of 22nd Street, north of Birmingham, is characterized predominantly and most frequently by traditional peak-roofed homes with driveways beside, garages in the back, or in the case of the east side of the street, a laneway that runs behind the properties. Integral garages are certainly not the norm. As part of my preparation for my own battle south of Birmingham, I did an extensive FSI analysis of the houses north of Birmingham. It revealed that 46 out of the 58 houses are zoning compliant, which is 79%. Furthermore, 37 out of 58, or 64% of the houses, have an FSI of 0.5 or below. Therefore, a modified request for 0.85 FSI is still substantially higher than the predominant FSI for the houses north of Birmingham on 22nd Street. The massing and density that will result from this application will not respect or reinforce the physical character of the neighborhood, but will instead overwhelm the neighborhood and disrupt the streetscape. To prepare for this testimony, I did an FSI analysis of the east side of 24th Street, the next street over, thus the immediate context of the proposal. 23 out of 27, or 85% of the houses on 24th Street, the east side of 24th Street, are below 0.6 FSI. While these anomalous overbuilds do exist on this north of Birmingham section of 22nd Street, they are far from predominant or most frequently occurring, as labeled by OPA 320. No one is begrudging the owner the right to make appropriate changes to their property. However, these changes must take the context into account and respect and reinforce the physical character of the neighborhood, especially when there are two heritage listed properties on this section of 22nd Street. As a whole, 22nd Street has 5 heritage listed properties which contribute to this physical character. This proposal does not respect the intent of the official plan, therefore fails the fourth test of a minor variance. Someone needs to muster the courage to say no to these massive encroachments on our older Toronto neighborhoods. I respectfully request that this Committee of Adjustment do so today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas, for that presentation. Any questions for Ms. Thomas before we move back to Mr. Barrett to respond to the concerns and issues raised by the neighbors? Okay, Mr. Barrett?
Yes, good morning again. I suppose there's a lot to unpack there, but I'll take some notes and I'll attempt to move through some of these comments, starting with the first speaker. He mentioned concerns about precedents, considering another new build going in across the street from him, but as we all know, precedents does not dictate Committee of Adjustment decisions, and each is judged on its own merits. This comment, this doesn't mix in with existing housing. I mean, all one has to do is take a look at some of the photos that I submitted in my presentation material to note that there is an array of built form on this stretch, from old bungalows to 3 stories to small apartment buildings. I would argue that there really isn't any one specific type of built form along this stretch. And I don't believe that what we're proposing will be out of character in light of that. He did mention that the neighbors said that families need a house and a place to live, and I tend to agree with that statement. I guess that was what one of the neighbors had mentioned to him. And I can't really speak to his notion that the neighbors don't know what they're dealing with, because I know that the owner has spoken with some of them, so I wasn't there for those conversations, but I can't speak to that. The area of the platform was mentioned as a concern. That's essentially a ground level deck. It's because of the way the bylaw is written up, it actually comes off of the first floor. It's not a second floor deck, but that's the way the variance has been written up. There were some further comments about aesthetics, and we're really going to get into that. As to the adjacent neighbor, we appreciate their support, and we appreciate that they wanted to be on the call to understand what's happening better. The distance between buildings is to stay the same on that side. This is being built on top of the existing, so the setback on her side will remain. Going further back as to that comment, if we look to the survey and the site plan, don't believe we're going any further back than what is existing on that side. It will be squared off at the other side, the south side. So hopefully that answers that question. As for the last speaker, concerns about physical character, again, I just asked you to look to the pictures that I've submitted and note the variety of built form. She mentioned that integral garages are not in character, but there are several on this block. So really sure how to respond to that. Regarding it being considered overbuilding, again, I've done some research and looked into other approvals in the immediate area, and we fit in quite well with those which have been approved by this committee over the last 12, 13 years. Concerns about heritage, this is not a heritage listed property. Concerns about scale and reinforcing general physical patterns. Now, this neighborhood, as I mentioned, is undergoing significant changes, with old homes being renovated or replaced all over the place. There are many images of this in my package there, and one does not have to look very far to see numerous other examples of new homes which have been gradually changing the physical character of this neighborhood over the past several years and beyond, I'm sure. And not everyone will agree with what these changes should be, but we feel that this design fits well within the changing character of this neighborhood in transition. She also mentioned zoning standards, and as I said, the variances are comparable to those which have been happening in the area. And I agree that zoning bylaws are there for a reason, to regulate performance standards. But when it makes sense, there's a mechanism for proposing projects that are outside of these standards, and that's why I'm here today. And beyond that, saying that this home is mostly traditional brick homes, bungalows, and so on, which is most frequently occurring at the time, that is changing. And again, not everyone will like it, but many of these dwellings have outlived their usefulness or appeal for newer owners and residents, and many are being updated or replaced accordingly. And I just want to say again, we work closely with planning staff to arrive at a solution that works, and I believe this passes the 4 tests. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Any questions for Mr. Barrett or any of the neighbors at this point, or is someone ready to, Ms. Alderson? Get your hand up.
Yeah, I do have a question. There's a little bit of a discrepancy regarding the timeline of the applicant revision page where numbers 1, 2, 4, and 7 have been reduced and numbers 11 and 12 have been removed. And then community planning staff report dated September 7th, which is effectively 4 days later, wants number 1, 2, 4, 11, and 12 to be reduced. It just doesn't jive with the applicant revision page on September 3rd. So that's the first question. The second comment, really not a question, is this is a mutual drive. All of the examples that you've given us on the street with regard to the massing have been singular driveways, not mutual driveways. I just wanted to put that comment out there. But if you could clarify the timing of the applicant revision page versus the staff report.
Sure. I was in communication with the planner on this file extensively, going back and forth and providing revisions and trying to get their blessing on this before moving forward, and waiting on an updated zoning notice as well to ensure that everything was correct. And they wrote up the report indicating the changes they wanted to see, but those changes had already been discussed and implemented. So I get it's a little confusing, but I think they had to write up their staff report based on changes being requested to the original version of the plans. But we had already done that in conversation with them.
So you're saying that these have all been addressed in the applicant revision page without me getting out, both the notices and looking at them?
Yes, that's correct. And also the driveway and parking for this will be entirely on site. So if you take a look at the site plan, the driveway shown at the width of 3.4 meters is entirely on the site, leading up to a single car garage, the integral garage as well.
Okay. But it's still a mutual drive, right? Still a shared driveway.
Yes, I'm seeing that on the survey, I believe, but parking and access will be provided entirely on the site.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Barrett or any of the neighbors, or is someone ready for a motion?
I'm prepared to move a motion. It appears the applicants worked with the city staff to resolve a lot of the issues and eliminate some of the variances. So I'm comfortable that the variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the planning.
Sorry. I'm just looking at the survey versus the site plan, and they're showing a setback of 0.93, but the survey shows the right of way is 1.07 meters in width. Graham, if you can address that.
Apologies, this is news to me. I'm looking at the elevation here. The upper floors project out slightly greater than the ground floor, so that could be where that comes in. I'd have to consult with the designer though, and I'm unfortunately not in the same room as him at the moment. Or even the same building for that matter.
Okay, sorry, Chair, I'm confused now as to, I was
Yeah,
in the
we're
middle
in the
of
middle of a motion. Ms. Bartosik, thank you for weighing in. Does this affect the, this discrepancy, something that
Should,
Mr. Barrett doesn't seem
should
to?
we defer?
So is the issue that the second story can't encroach into the mutual right of way? Is that the concern?
Nothing is supposed to encroach onto the right of way.
Let's see.
I hate to say this, but in view of these revelations, I think we're going to have to defer. So if no one else is willing to do it, I'm willing to
The
put forward a
Secretary
motion for
Treasurer,
deferral.
so can we hear from Ms. Bartosik, as I guess we have to defer if there's an encroachment over the right of way?
I mean, the committee could always put in a condition that that setback, I can't remember what side it is, the south side yard setback be a minimum of 1.07 meters to ensure that it does not encroach on the existing right of way. And then it'll be up to, I mean, then you can't tie it to plans, obviously, if in case that was a concern. But then they would have to make sure that they leave the right of way free and clear.
Okay, does that work for Mr. Barrett? Does it work for the committee members? We've spent over half an hour on this hearing, so if we could possibly dispense with it, or if we have to come back, we'll have to come back, and that's involves inconvenience to the applicant, as it'll delay everything. They have to sit through an appeal period, get an approval. So the question is, does that, Mr. Barrett, is that condition that the Secretary Treasurer just suggested meet with your, is that okay for you and your client? And secondly, is that okay with the panel members? Are they someone prepared to make a motion to that effect? So those are the two things we have to find out. And
Well, to respond to your question, I mean, if it's not permitted whatsoever to encroach into that right of way, then a revision would be required regardless to ensure that we don't do that. If this committee is willing to approve the proposal today, then I can relay that back to the designer and the owner and make an adjustment to ensure that the setback doesn't come any closer than the existing dwelling. And but yes, apologies, this kind of came out of left field for me. I see there's definitely a slight overhang on that side of the dwellings that may have to be adjusted. I mean, if there's no way around that, then that would have to happen anyways.
Mr. Chair, the other issue is when those adjustments are made, that's also going to affect some of the other variances too.
Yes, it would change floor space index slightly, I'm sure.
would the variance
So
increase
I'm
or
thinking,
decrease? If the variance would increase, then
would
Mr.
decrease.
Barrett, you have a problem. Because then you're going to be offside.
No, it would decrease. We'd be pulling in that wall slightly.
Oh, okay. So you're saying the variances would not increase?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
The house
So
would be shrinking on that side slightly.
I
to
think that was
comply with
Mr. Comerick's concern. So you're saying that isn't the case. So anyway, if someone wants to make a motion, if Ms. Bartosik, if you feel that could, and Mr. Barrett confirms that if he can't, he can't. So he's prepared to, I guess, avoid a couple of month delay and agree to that as part of a condition. And he stated in response to Mr. Comerick's valid concern that would not affect the variances upward.
I mean, ideally, I like to see the variance just come downward for precedent reasons, so I'm inclined to want to defer. That's
Anyway,
just my
someone make a
opinion.
motion and let's deal with it so we can have a break and we can come back and do the rest of we've spent a lot of time on this, so let's decide one way or another.
I believe I did make a motion for deferral earlier, so if someone's willing to second that, I think we can vote on it.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, the matter's deferred. We'll see you back here again, Mr. Barrett. Hopefully it won't take another 40 minutes once we get that resolved. So this matter has to be deferred. Okay, the matter has been deferred.
Okay, thank.
And we'll now take a break, 10-minute break. And we'll come back and deal with item number 12 and see if the applicant in number 7 has figured out what he had to figure out yet. Okay, so we're adjourned for 10 minutes. Thank you. Is everybody back? Okay, we're ready to get back started. Its next application is item number 12, 9 Whitecroft Place. It's an application to construct a partial one-story addition, and there are 2 variances. We have before us a 3D drawing and photos, and I believe that's all we have. From the applicant is Neil Ironside is the agent for the applicant, and there are no other speakers registered to speak.
Hi, I'm present, Neil Ironside here, the agent for the owners.
Okay.
My appreciation, you guys have a long day ahead of you.
Yeah,
I don't think this qualifies as a...
I don't think we need a presentation. Is there anything you'd like to advise the committee? And we'll see if there's any questions.
Just to reassure the committee that the neighbors have been polled and there are no objections. The addition falls under the existing roof line. It's mostly a consequence of the odd geometry of the site being an irregular lot on a crescent, and should, I think, easily fit in with the existing development of the area. If the committee has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ironside. Any questions for the agent, or is someone ready for a motion?
If no one has any questions, I'm ready for a motion. I believe this application is minor in nature and meets the 4 tests, and I'd like to move for approval. I don't think there are any conditions. I don't think there's anything from any city department, actually.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson, seconder for that. Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Ironside.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Okay. Okay, next application is item number 13. Uh, 57 East Glen Crescent. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. We do have revised, can get it up on the board, a revised notice sheet, reducing the variance number 5, the area of the rear balcony. And other than that, it's the same application as previously. So we have the waiver and revised plans as well. We have memo from planning, and transportation is requesting a deferral. The applicant is Yuri Otarov, the owner of the property. And,
hi, good morning, everyone.
see-
My name's Yuri Otarov.
Thank you, Gary. Just want to point out, a planning report actually requested the reduction of the rear platform in variance number 5, which is in fact, you have reduced it to just below that to about 9.96 square meters. So that was the nature. What about the transportation deferral request? Have you, can you address that, Mr. Ironside? In your
Yes,
presentation?
absolutely. So the transportation report was also addressed in Rev G of the architectural plans. This was posted on September 3rd. Transportation had requested that the driveway width be reduced to 3.2 meters within the public right-of-way. This change was accommodated in Rev G, again posted September 3rd.
Okay, so you made changes in response to that as well.
That's correct.
Okay, and there are no other speakers, so would you like to advise the committee of anything? I don't think we need a full presentation, or we can just see if committee members have any questions for you.
I'll just briefly say that we've discussed the proposal with our neighbors. We're not aware of any opposition. Everyone seems very supportive of the project. Again, we're trying to improve the area. I'll certainly defer to committee for any questions.
Okay, and I see there are urban forestry conditions 1, 2, and 3. You're okay with that?
We are absolutely okay with that. We're prepared to preserve all existing trees exceeding 30 centimeters in diameter. We will submit a complete application for a permit to injure. All injuries are planned to be minor in nature.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any questions from the owner, Mr. Adarov, or is someone ready for a motion?
Just a question regarding the transportation condition. I believe they were concerned about reducing the width of the portion in the public right of way, so that's not tied to any of your variances. Are you okay with that?
We are okay with that.
Okay, so we'll need to impose that as a condition should we approve.
No concerns.
Okay, any other questions or a motion?
I'm willing to do a motion. I believe the application is minor and does meet the 4 tests. I'd like to move approval as revised, which I believe brings the platform down to 9.6 with forestry, urban forestry conditions 1, 2, and 3, as well as transportation condition to reduce the public portion of the driveway.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kamarick. Any question, seconder for that motion? Ms. Ruddick, thank you. All in favor? Your application is unanimously approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Board.
Okay, the next application is item number 14-6, Allen Mead Crescent. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an integral garage. There are 2 variances, soffit height and floor space index. It's only 0.02 over. Soffit height is 0.21 over. And all we have on this application is a presentation and no comments from, you have an urban forestry condition number 1. There is only 1 speaker registered, the agent, Ida Evangelista. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. Ida Evangelista on behalf of the owners of 6 Allen Mead Crescent. I would like to add that there are also letters of support from numbers 4, 8, 20, and 26 Allen Mead. What we are proposing, would you like me to make a presentation, Mr. Chair?
I don't think it's necessary. The 2 variances, there are only 2 variants and they seem rather quite minor. Perhaps we can get your presentation up on the screen.
I have submitted photos of the area, and I would like to add that the 1 variance number 2 for the soffit height is under the old bylaw. We do comply with height and main wall height under the new bylaw. We are well below the length, and we have no side yard, and we do have support from the neighbors.
Yeah.
And the area that we are asking for is just some additional area on the interior and the covered front porch.
Okay, you're only about 16 meters over.
There's
Sorry.
nothing to share. It was submitted too late.
The submission?
No, the presentation is here.
It came in yesterday.
Excuse me? We
No.
have the presentation materials in our package.
Yeah.
Photos?
Right. Yes.
Sorry, we're just experiencing some technical difficulties sharing the content.
Okay.
Yeah, but these materials are in our original package. They weren't just submitted. In any event,
No,
let's just see if,
they were-
you know, it's extremely minor. You're 16 meters over, or you wouldn't be here other than that other. So let's see if committee members have any questions or if someone's ready to bring a motion, and there is urban forestry condition number 1.
Mr. Chair, I'm ready to bring a motion forward.
Thank you.
I believe that the application meets the 4 tests, and I'm ready to move approval subject to urban forestry condition number 1.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. We have a seconder for that.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mrs. Evangelista.
Thank you.
Okay.
Rebecca?
Now, item number 15 has been deferred, so we'll move on down to item number 16, which is 15 Denison Road West. And this is an application to expand the west side of the existing rear yard deck. There is one variance, the distance from the west side lot line. And we have on this application opposition from 14 Lippincott Street West. We have photos and an email from the agent. And registered to speak is the agent, Victor Ruddick, as well as the neighbor at 17 Denison.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we had Victor on the WebEx, but he's not there. I'm just going to check if it's the new call-in user. Call-in user 6, phone number 416-799. Hello? Phone number starting 416-799.
That's the looks like the applicant.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. But Mr. Thompson, the neighbor at 17 Denison, next door, you saying he's not on the line, or he is?
No, he is as well.
Okay.
But the applicant is
Let's hear first from the agent if we can get him.
Victor, would
Hello,
you?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Hello?
you now. Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Oh, okay, great. Great. Hello, my name is Victor Rudick. I'm at 2-22 Law Street. Law Street. I am speaking on behalf of the owner of the property, Rose Packman. We have provided a collage of photos showing the site and the expansion of, or the proposed expansion of the deck by 0.51 meters. The reason for this proposed expansion is to take advantage of a sliver of land that currently is underutilized. And it represents a variance of 0.51 meters.
Okay, we have your photos. We have your photos, which we have up on the board that shows the situation. Okay. So we have the letter from the neighbor at 14 Lippincott, who's not here speaking. It looks like this. Looks like he's speaking on his own behalf, but he is the vice president of the Weston Village Residents Association. He's signed his name that way, as well as the vice president of the 12 Division Community Police Liaison Committee. But appears he's speaking on his behalf. So, Mr. Ruddick, we have a neighbor present as well from 17 who appears to be the neighbor directly next door. And perhaps we'll hear from them and you can respond, unless you'd like to add anything at this point.
No, sir. I would like to hear what the neighbor has to say.
Okay. Is Mr. Thompson from 17 on the line?
Yes, I'm Stephen Thompson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I speaking loud enough?
You are.
Okay. I purchased 17 Denison Road West in 1977, and it is my principal residence. The house at 15 was owned by a couple that raised 3 children, and that couple never did have a deck of any kind in the backyard. That couple raised the kids, they grew up, moved away, and that couple died in 2015. After that, the house was flipped several times, and each party that owned it made some slight renovations, and then eventually Rose Packman purchased it, and she has undertaken to do major renovations, and she's done a marvelous job. Certainly, she's taken a house that was quite shabby and made it almost like a perfect house. Now, with respect to the structural things, I would just point out that if you were standing outside 15 and 17, the doorway on number 15 is on the west side of the house. That is the front door. The doorway for number 17, that's my home, is on the east side of the house. And the driveway is my private driveway. But you wouldn't know that if you were coming to the house. You would just, there's a sense in which people just kind of assume that the driveway belongs to 15. And probably that's because 15 was built first, and it's likely just over 100 years old. My house was built probably between 1926 and 1930. And the garage at the back in the site plan there, that would have been built at the same time. So it's an old wooden garage, and I don't use it for parking my vehicle, but I do have many things in there in the way of tools and all kinds of things, which maybe I'll get to shortly. But in terms of moving down the driveway to the back of the home there, if you look at the site plan, you'll see that that my garage is actually closer to the house at number 15 than it is to my home. And so whereas in the past, the only thing that separated the two yards was a chain link fence, now everything is built up with brand new wooden fence and a new deck, and it's completely changed. And so when you look at the context of the homes in the immediate area, you'll notice that this is a bit unusual to have a garage that is closer to a neighbor's home.
Yeah, sorry, Mr.
And
Thompson,
so,
you have 1 minute. You have 1 minute remaining. Thank you.
1 minute, that's all? Okay, I guess maybe to cut to the quick, and that is that in 2019, when Rose purchased the wood for the deck, it was put in the backyard. And just prior to that, she had a tunnel dug down the backyard to the end of it to put in a gas line running to the back end of the backyard. It's 140 feet long, and then a gazebo built back there, and then she informed me that the deck would not be able to be built because there was a neighbor at the back who put in a complaint, and she mentioned the issue of 18 inches. And at that time, I had no idea that it was necessary to get a permit to build a deck. But anyways, as I thought it over, when I spoke to her the next time, I said, I think it would be important to keep that setback because these people that you're renting out to, like in 2019 with the Airbnb, like Rose is employed in IT, and before COVID struck, she would often be out of town for periods of time.
Yes,
and
sir.
then these people
Sir,
would
you're going to have to wrap up. You've gone a minute over already. You're at 6 minutes.
Okay, so basically, there's a tension here between the volume of renters, short-term rental people coming in, and at the same time, I'm a hands-on guy. I've got all kinds of chemicals. I've got things which would be considered hazardous in that garage, and I think that bylaw, which requires a bit of a setback, I think, for the issue of public safety, in terms of just it's a bad mix. It's a bad mix to have these short-term rental people coming in, and it's constant, and
Okay,
me
sir.
at the same time.
I'm going to have to cut you off. You've been at 8 minutes already, okay? So you're focused on a lot of things that are sort of planning. We're talking about the variance here, not about Airbnb and chemicals in your garage, but you feel that this side yard setback should be maintained and they shouldn't be allowed to extend the deck as they wish to do. So that's to summarize what you have to say. Okay, so Mr. Ruddick, the agent, will respond to your concerns in his rebuttal. Does anyone have any questions, though, for Mr. Thompson, before we move on?
I have a question for Mr. Thompson. Sir, your existing garage, is it set back from the neighbor's lot?
Sorry, say that again.
Your existing garage, is it set back 18 inches or any inches at all from the neighbor's yard?
Is it set back from what? From the property line?
From the property line, correct, because that's what you're arguing, is that the neighbor should maintain 18-inch setback, and I'm just asking whether your garage has a similar situation or whether there's no setback.
Well, see, from my vantage point, if I'm standing on her deck, because it proceeds
This isn't about vantage points. This is about where is it in relation to the property line.
It's the relation is that if I'm standing on her deck, I can touch my roof. I could rip a shingle off. I could butt a cigarette on the top of my roof. That should not be. And if she moves even closer, then it's
okay. But Mr. Thompson, Mr. Comerica is asking you a specific question, which you can answer by looking at your survey, whether you're giving the same setback, albeit it's not a deck, it's for your garage. Understand that that's a difference, but it's a very simple question, whether you have a setback from the property line that is 18 inches or more or less.
That was built 100 years ago. How can I be exact on that without a survey?
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, any other questions, or we'll go back to Mr. Ruddick for his rebuttal? No more questions? Okay, Mr. Ruddick?
Ruddick, yes. With regards to the privacy fence, that was installed at Mr. Thompson's request by Rose Packman. It is installed entirely upon Rose's property. Also, he mentioned individuals using the Airbnb. The Airbnb is for a single room. It is not including access to the backyard. That is for her personal use alone. Again, talking about the variance, in my experience, having worked at the City of York back in 1994 on Committee of Adjustment proposals, this is, in my opinion, a minor variance.
Okay, Mr. Ruddick, can you actually answer the question Mr. Comerica asked of the neighbor, Mr. Thompson, in terms of his garage, which we know is not the same as the deck? Is there any setback from the property line to his garage against your client's property?
Yes, there is. According to measurements, it is 15 inches.
Okay. Thank you. Committee members, any remaining questions either for the agent or for the neighbor, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? And there are no conditions.
Palmer, I'll move for, I'll make a recommendation. I'm going to move for approval. I think the variance requested is minor in nature and meets the 4 tests. I didn't hear anything from the neighbor that convinced me otherwise. So I'm going to move for approval with no conditions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer. Seconder for Mr. Palmer's motion. Ms. Ruddick, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, the motion carries 4-1 with Laura Alderson dissenting. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, and thank you, Mr. Ruddick. No relation to our esteemed member. Not even the same spelling. Right. Okay, our next application is item number 17, 19 Whaley Drive. It's an application to construct a new east side addition with an integral garage, a second-story addition over the dwelling, a rear yard deck, and a front covered porch. And the existing rear yard garage will be demolished. There are 4 variances, and we have nothing whatsoever on file on this application. No communication from neighbors or from city departments. Oh, sorry, we do have urban forestry condition number 1. That is the only communication we have. The applicant is Justin Sherry, the agent for the applicant.
Afternoon, committee. I'm Justin Sherry, authorized agent for 19 Whaley Drive. I'll keep it brief and let you guys make a decision and ask any questions, but I'd just like to address the forestry, that we are not removing the city tree, and we will do all it takes to do any preservation or hoarding for it. I think just the illustration wasn't shown on the proposed site plan, but it was shown on the existing site plan. So my mistake, it will be maintained.
Okay.
And also, second item, just with regards to the variance pertaining to the rear and front yard landscaping, hopefully it can be a consideration, considering that it's just an existing condition. It is relatively close to what's mandated, and we don't want to have any hindrance on their approval. So if it is a requirement to remove those 2 conditions, the owners are willing to do so. Although we believe it to be minor.
Right, your variances 3 and 4 have to do with the soft landscaping in the front yard and the rear yard.
Correct.
And
it's existing, and we don't plan to make any changes.
Right.
But
okay. So
yeah,
it is existing. So it's also not, we've seen a lot that are a lot more, you're at 50%, you're in the 45, 44 range, as opposed to in the teens or something. So, but we will make that note, that it is existing. You're not doing anything to change that. Committee members, any questions for the applicant, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
I'm willing to take a stab. I believe the application is minor in nature and meets the 4 tests, and therefore I would recommend approval without any conditions.
Urban forestry number 1.
Urban forestry condition.
Missed that one, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mark.
And without friendly amendment, I will second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much, committee.
Okay. Okay, item number 18 is 50 West Head Road. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 7 variances. We have before us on this an arborist report, a previous decision. No, sorry, that's the next one. We have an arborist report, planning and transportation memo. And planning was asking for the dwelling length to be reduced in variance number 4 to 17.8 meters. And transportation is, I believe, has 2 conditions of approval as well. The agent is Fab Kachella, as well as we have the owner present as well, but we will be hearing from the agent, I understand, because we only have one speaker from each address, including the applicant's address. Fab Kachela.
Hi.
Welcome.
I am here. Thank you.
Sir, I don't think we need a full presentation from you. We do have the run request from community planning. Have you seen that, and are you agreeable to that?
Yeah, it's already been addressed. The plans have been submitted to 17.7, and it was on August 24th we did that.
Okay, so you're okay if committee revises the approval?
On items 3 and 4 have been addressed and have been submitted.
Okay. You said items 3 and 4? Or just number 4?
3 and 4 have been addressed, yes, and already
So
been submitted.
what is the change to number
Also
3?
He wanted me to reduce the eavesdrop approaching the neighbor's yard.
Okay.
So we also did that too, because our lot it's narrow at the back. It's a 50 in the front, but 30 in the back, so it gets really narrow at the back. We just wanted the roof to be symmetrical. That's all.
Okay. So my question to
Sir,
you
did
is:
you
is
submit
variance
revisions?
3 variance 3 correct as written, or is it going down? It says that the proposed eaves will project 1.02 meters. We located 0.18 meter from the south lot line. Has that changed?
It has changed.
Can you let us know what that's
it's gone
changed
down.
to?
Yes,
You don't
one
have the
second. Let me
plans,
just
so we
double
have to
check.
know what it's been changed to. So
Yeah, one sec. I'll tell you in 2 seconds here. 1 second.
But did you submit revisions? Because we have nothing in front of the committee advising that you've made changes to your plans.
Yes, the revision that we did for the number 4, it's also the same for 3. He asked for 3 and 4 to be reduced.
I'm asking, did you submit the revisions with the Committee of Adjustment office?
So that I don't know. What I do know is what they requested from me, I sent to them directly through email.
For planning, but you have to give the Committee of Adjustment office any revisions. The committee has none of this information. So now you have to go through variances one by one to tell us what your revisions are, and the committee does not have the plans in front of them.
Yeah, so the planner said he would take care of that for me. He was going to take care of all that for me to make sure that I'd be okay for this meeting.
And anyway, why don't you just tell us the changes to 3 and 4? I guess 4 has been changed to 19.09, or that you're willing to accept, and you will be sending in, or you have sent plans, but they just haven't made it to the Committee of Adjustment office. So variance 4 is reduced to what? 19.09? Is that right?
No, for number 4. Sorry, number 4.
Yeah.
It's 17.7.
Oh, sorry, 17 point. That's what they were asking.
They were
Okay,
asking 17.8. We went 17.7.
So you're content that you got approval for 17.7, and then can you please go run by variance number 3 now? What's variance 3? How should that read? The projected eaves will project 1.02 meters, or that's changed?
No, that stays the same. Sorry, my mistake. It's just number 4.
Okay, so variance
Well,
number
what
3 does
about-
not change.
No, it's just number 4.
So what about variance number 1?
Yeah, variance number 1 would also change because of 4.
Yes, but we need that information.
I can get it for you. If you give me a few minutes. I can get it for you right away.
I mean, Mr. Chair, your speech does say that changes won't be permitted on the fly. He doesn't even know what they are.
Yeah, yet he said he's
With all due respect,
dealt with the
when I was
planner.
talking to
But those
I was
plans
dealing
haven't
with the
made
planner
its
the
way
whole
to
time.
us.
They said they would take care. The plans are submitted, they're in, and the planner said that he would take care of it for me and that I would have everything ready for today.
But it is your responsibility to update your application, not the planner. This is your file. We couldn't even accept changes from the planner. It has to come from you.
I did submit, but I must have submitted
To
to the wrong
us.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to you. I don't think I submitted it to you. No, I did not.
Mr. Chair, can we scan this application down so he can figure out what other changes? Because his depth might change as well. I don't know.
Okay, sir, we're gonna hold this
I can-
matter. You can go away and you can try to figure out how that reduction in variance 4 to 17.7 affects variances number 1, and if whether there's any change to variance 3. You said something about first they wanted you to change it, then they didn't, and you didn't change it. So
I could look at
that
too.
remains. Can you look at those items and then we'll stand it down and get back to you. We'll see if before the lunch break when we finish the morning agenda. And if you're not ready, we'll have to come back to you in the
Perfect.
afternoon. Okay, so we'll just
Okay, I'll do that.
we'll hold that, stand that down. Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll stand. Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to item number 19, which is number 4, Woodmere Court. It's an application to construct a second-story east addition. A previous Committee of Adjustment decision approved a variance related to gross floor area. Okay, so we have 2 variances, quite minor, from 0.45 to 0.47, and the height from 7 to 7.34. And on this application, we have, again, an arborist report, cover letter, a previous decision, and communication from TRCA. TRCA has no objections. The speaker on this application is Anthony Gornick, the agent for the applicant.
Anthony Gornick here.
Yes.
And the proposal is to add as you mentioned, a second-story addition over an existing wing at the rear of the property. And related to that are 2 minor variances for size and soffit height or wall height. And I find this to be quite minor and appropriate for the area. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's see. Any questions for Mr. Gornick, or is someone ready to weigh in with the motion? And there is no urban forestry or any other condition.
I'll weigh in. It's Stan. I find the application to be minor, meeting the 4 tests, and would therefore like to recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Comerick. Seconded for Mr. Comerick's motion. Mr. Palmer's hand up went up first, so Mr. Palmer.
Hey, I won.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, assume that's unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Gornick.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 20 and then go back and see what's happening with items 7 and 18. So item number 20 is 1160 Islington Avenue. It's an application to construct a rear deck. And there are 2 variances, the area of a platform and as well as the proposed the encroachment into the required rear yard setback. We have previous decision on this as well, decision from 2007, as well as a recommendation from planning to modify variance number 1, the size of the platform from 19.5 meters to 10 meters, and we have an opposition letter from the owners of 2A Greystone Gardens. And as well, we have Sioux support letters and the additional materials from 1164 and 1162 Islington. Speaker is Aileen Mendez Saramento, the owner of the property. Welcome.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Aileen Mendez Sarmiento. I'm the owner of 1160 Islington Avenue in Etobicoke. I have been the owner since 2017. As mentioned by Mr. Chair, our application is for building a rear deck, and we have only 2 variances. The first one is related to the 4 square meters as the permitted maximum area of a platform with the floor higher than the first floor of the dwelling above established grade. So the deck we are proposing to build, it's going to be at our house main level, allowing us to go outside using the 2 kitchen doors that we have on the back. Our request is to be able to access the deck and the backyard through any of these doors at the back of the house. And we want this for our family to enjoy the outdoor space, which will improve our personal health and life, and will allow us to have green space as soft landscaping will be in most of our backyard in the lower level. The second variance refers mostly to the deck's depth, which is 2.44 meters. That will allow us to have an outdoor sitting space in the deck. The requested variance doesn't encroach or disturb the adjacent private lands or structures in any ways and has no impact on privacy or safety of the neighborhood. I would like to clarify something on the distance between our property and the south side lot line, which appears as 0.76 meters in the zoning notice, and it is actually 0.93 meters as per the survey and plans on each side of the line. So we have 3 letters of support.
So first of all, ma'am, if I can just interrupt you. So is the variance number 2 correct? Or is it different based on the survey you now have?
The only difference is where it said 0.76 meter, it is actually 0.93 meter.
So it's more in compliance. If it's not greater, it's less than what's shown at the 0.76. It's actually, you said 0.9?
0.93.
So
that is the actual distance in between houses, our house and the south lot line.
We're talking from the south, not between houses, to your south side lot line. You want to make sure you don't give away something that that you need. Do you need the 0.76? Because remember, it's not to the other property, it's to your south side lot line. It's at 0.76. Before you increase it, just make sure that you're not going to get yourself into a problem. Because you just said it's the distance between the houses.
No, but 0.93, it's the distance that we have in between houses.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's more than what it's mentioned in the letter.
Yes, ma'am, but we need to keep the 0.76 because it's the distance to your south side lot line. Right? Because then I guess it's got another 0.2 between to the other house. I'm saying I don't want you to tell us to change that variance and then you're going to have a problem. That's all. Well,
just looking at, can we share the page 1 of the revised plans, please?
Yeah, I would suggest you leave it the way it is, just for your own protection, in case there's some issue. Unless you want to, I can't read that from here, but in any event, so we
page one shows the distance in between our house and the south.
Okay, ma'am, planning. Have you read the planning report? Planning would like you to reduce that rear platform from 19.59 to 10 meters because it's a second floor platform. Typically, second floor platforms are only allowed at 4 square meters, but typically it's a little terrace off a bedroom on a second floor. In this case, it is your main access from your living space because of the elevation of your property, correct? It's not really a second floor deck. It's a main deck off of your kitchen or your living room or something like that. I haven't seen the plan here. Is that correct?
Exactly. That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
Okay, so
I wanted to mention we also have a third one, support letter that is in the application. It was uploaded on Monday because the neighbors were away the previous week, but it is in there. Not sure if you take a look at that one. It's from the rear neighbor. And we also got one from the the next door neighbor from 1162 and one from 1164. And all of them state that our proposal is not causing any concerns on view, privacy, or safety of the neighborhood.
Okay, ma'am, as I said in my opening, we do have the letters and our additional materials from 1164 and 1162 next door. We don't appear to have anything from the neighbor behind. But my question to you is then, I assume you do not agree with the community planning recommendation to reduce your platform to 10 square meters from 19.59. Is that correct?
Is that correct? Yeah, it is. We don't agree with that.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if committee members have any questions for you. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Saramento, or is someone ready for a motion?
Sir, I thought there was a neighbor to speak, no?
No, there's just the a letter of opposition.
Just a letter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the planning letter. The planning does not seem to, they talk about second story rear decks not requiring a variance, but they don't seem to take any reference or cognizance of the fact that in fact this is being used as because you have the elevation of your first floor is raised, so it's not a second floor terrace off a bedroom. They don't seem to mention that at all. Anyway, committee members, no questions for the applicant, or does someone wish to weigh in with a motion? There are no other speakers. We do have the letter of opposition.
Palmer, I'm ready to move a motion.
Okay.
I'm comfortable that the size of the deck is off really the main floor, which I guess under zoning definition is the second floor, but it looks to be their main floor. So I'm comfortable with the size for that. And the applicant had requested a reduction in the one setback, but looking at the survey plan, it looks like the north point of the house is 0.93 off the property line. But we're talking about the deck, I think, on the south side. So I'm comfortable with the variances as they've been in the notice.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any revision required. So I'm happy to move for approval. The variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer.
That's it.
Seconder for that motion? Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay, the motion carries 4-1. Ms. Ruddick dissenting. Okay, thank you, Ms. Saramento. After your appeal period, you can go ahead with your deck. Thanks so much. Okay, so we have just to finish up and go back to the 2 matters we held down before we break for the morning. Item number 7, 3176 Weston. We have the
Yes.
the applicant back on the
Do
line.
you hear me?
Mr. Ramiri.
Hi, do you hear
Welcome
me?
back. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. I rechecked my calculations. Actually, the provided soft landscape is not 20%, it's 40%. So,
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you, sir. Can you speak a little clearer or louder? I don't know if anyone else is having trouble.
Yes, the soft landscape that's provided, it is 40%, not 20%. So I agreed with the planning department, with the staff, that 20% is good, but there's an error. It is not the soft landscape that is provided is 40%. So I want to reduce that to 20%. So I don't know what will happen here. So yes.
Okay, sir. Right now it says a total of 20%, and it's expressed as 17.8 square meters. So Mr. Palmer, I believe, had or wondered how that could be, given the math. If 75% was 29.3, how can 20% be 17.8? I think that was the crux of it. So you were going to go away and check those numbers.
Yes, I checked that 17.8 is not correct. It needs to be 7.8. 7.8 would be 20%, which
I
is
see.
agreed with
Okay.
the staff.
So instead of 17.8, that landscaping expressed in meters should be 7.8. Mr. Palmer, that looks
That's
more
correct.
more copacetic to you. It seems to make more sense.
No, in my math, it doesn't make sense because on the revised site plan that was submitted, he's got that expressed in square feet, 191.5 square feet, which in my math equates to 17.8 square meters.
Yes, that's, I want to reduce that square feet, which is shown on the site plan. I want to reduce that to 7.8 square meter.
But, okay, so you submitted a revised site plan to the Committee of Adjustment for consideration, and now you want to change that again.
I think he's saying there was a mistake. I think he was saying that a mistake, and that in other words, the 20%, you're saying, sir, that's correct, but it's 7.8 is the 20%, not 17.8. Someone just added an extra digit in there. So it goes from 3.7 to 7.8, not to 17.8. And it's 20%.
No, because he now wants to reduce the landscaping further. Like the 17.8 is what matches on the revised site plan that he submitted. But now he wants to reduce it further.
Yes.
Not to have the 17.8.
No,
Even
no.
though that's
Sorry.
the only information in front of you.
Okay, Madam Secretary Treasurer, I think what he's saying is that the 20%, he's increasing it, he was at 9%. He's increasing it to 20%. He was at 3.7 meters, so he's increasing the landscaping not to 17, but to 7.8. I think that's what he's saying. It's 20% and 7.8. So it is an increase. It is an increase. It's not, we don't have a notice problem because it's more than the 3.7 that he originally was asking for. He's increasing it.
But it doesn't match the revised site plan that he provided to the committee.
I
which
think
is
he's
what
saying the
Neil
revised site
covered.
plan is wrong and that should be changed. Is that what you're saying,
That's
sir?
correct. That's correct. I want to revise the site plan.
Well, that's a bit misleading. Because now the committee members won't see how much landscaping, what it'll look like.
If there's no further questions, I'm prepared to move a motion.
Go ahead.
I'm going to move for refusal. The variance requested is not minor in nature and doesn't meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act.
Okay, thank you, sir. Motion for refusal. Mr. Palmer, seconder for that motion. Ms. Ruddick? Okay. All in favor? Okay, matter is unanimously refused. Thank you. Okay, now over to the next application where we held it was, I think, the second to last. Hold on. Item 18. And that wasn't too long ago, so I don't know if he didn't have as much time to prepare as number 7.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the applicant has left the WebEx.
Okay, Mr. Coachella has left the WebEx. Okay, so I guess we'll have to deal with this after the break. And maybe he'll have he's off searching out the answer to that. Okay, so it's now 20 to 1. We will resume in 1 hour at 20 to 2. Have a good lunch, everyone.